Well, greetings, friends, and welcome to the Gospel Underground Podcast. This is episode 44, Wrestle Like a Girl. We are broadcasting live for us from the Power of Change Worldwide headquarters here in Blacksburg, Virginia. I'm here with my co-host and partner in crime, 2 weeks back-to-back together in the shed, Jesse Fury. What's up, my man?
What's up? I just love calling this the worldwide headquarters.
It is the worldwide headquarters, headquartering a small bit of nothing that hopefully can be helpful to you people out there listening, underground Christians going for it with the people in your neighborhood, on them streets, on the block, living out faith in the borderlands between the church and culture, man.
Yeah.
How are things for you?
Man,
You were telling me about a Netflix movie you were checking out?
I watched, we were talking about Triple Frontier on Netflix. I was surprised. It was good. But you know what's even better? This beautiful weather.
We're inside, but we have access to windows.
Your shed quarters is actually a comfortable temperature today.
Skyline.
It's not freezing cold.
Yeah, we're 64 degrees here today. Little solar radiated heat coming in here.
Beautiful out.
Well, Jesse, I'm going to get right to it because I want your opinions on some things. I've got some questions for you. This is our In or Out segment here on The Underground. In or Out is simply where I ask, or Jesse asks me, or I ask Jesse, a list of things that we want to either go in on and make comment about or go stay out on and avoid. But these, Jesse, I would like you to answer all of them if you wouldn't mind.
This is just in.
Let's just call it in. What's your opinion? Number one, the new DC comic movie, Shazam, or like we said last time, Shazam Man. Shazam Man.
Listen, I don't know very much about this.
Have you seen the trailers?
I've seen the trailers, and I want to watch it, Reed.
Yeah.
I'm in.
You're in.
I'm in. I think it looks like a fun send-up on the whole genre.
It seems to me like it might be peak DC Comics, but I'm not quite sure yet.
You've got such a DC comic. You've got such a bias.
Aquaman was very good.
You have a bias.
Props to Aquaman in the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy. Dark Knight.
Yeah,
Aquaman.
Of course. Right. That almost doesn't count, though,
Wonder
right?
Woman. Aquaman, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was all right.
Pretty good.
Shazam Man.
Come on, man. It looks fun.
It looks very stupid.
It looks fun. I disagree. It looks fun. I'm going to see it.
Another thing that might be stupid, UVA basketball team. Are you in?
Well, here we are in Blacksburg, home of the Hokies, the Virginia Tech Hokies.
That's right.
You know what, man? So I'm in.
Yeah.
But I
like
grew
the
up,
coach?
I like Tony Bennett.
Yeah.
And I grew up watching UVA. My dad went to UVA. And so,
Ralph Sampson?
He was there. My dad was there a long time, but we don't need to get into that. He just finished with a bachelor's degree, but I'm in. I think the first half of that first round game against Gardner Webb was
a little rough,
tight, little rough. But man, this last game was they just looked like they were in total control, and so I think until they run into I don't know, Oregon could do it, but I like them until they run into a Duke, maybe just Duke.
Yeah, just Duke. They own UNC, it seems. I don't favor the Tar Heels in that matchup. I think that would be a Final Four.
That would be,
game with the
Cavaliers. You know who's going to be tough is Tennessee.
Yes.
I think Tennessee would be Elite Eight, and that would be a tough one.
That'll be a good game. UVA basketball, I'm still out on them until they actually do something in the tournament. I did not think they were going to lose to Gardner Webb because nobody's ever lost to a number 16 team except for UVA last year, and the odds on them doing that twice in a row are just infinitesimally small. Yeah. So I thought they'd pull through. I've got a friend who did his MBA at Darden, I think is his name, Darden School of Business, and his wife was a Tar Heel, so they kind of like both. But he's like telling me how great UVA basketball is. I was like, hey man, until there's a Final Four under Bennett's name or a championship even, but they've been good in the ACC, and I wish them well until they should lose to Tennessee. They should lose to Tennessee,
so they don't have to play.
They don't have to beat us.
Yeah,
because I think they would beat us. All right, what's your favorite book you've read this year? That's a lot to ask. It's early in the year.
Man. Well,
assuming you read a book, but that's a little uncharitable to you. Man. Put you on the spot.
You know what? I have a goal of reading 52 books this year.
Oh my goodness! High ambitions.
That's
Everyone
right.
feel that. Feel that.
I think I'm still on pace.
Awesome.
So I've read like maybe 9 or 10, but I've got a handful open right now. So probably my two favorite books were One Blood by Dr. John Perkins, his swan song final book about really about a vision for a multi-ethnic church in America.
Yeah.
And then On Reading Well by Karen Swallow Pryor.
Yeah.
Which was just a really kind of, I think I've mentioned it here on the podcast before, but it was just a really delightful.
You mentioned
book.
it, and I bought it for my daughter for Christmas.
Okay,
because of your mention.
Okay, yeah, that? And we're going to have her speaking in September at a little local conference on virtue. So I'll keep you updated.
Awesome. Maybe bring Kayla out to that.
Yep,
she can get her book signed or something, man. If
they're going to do some signings,
some signing of books and Bibles, maybe. All right, prediction on the Democratic presidential nominee.
Goodness,
you want to stay out on that?
I don't know. Bernie?
Isn't
he polling highest right now?
I don't know. I heard he's got some money.
He's got a lot of money. Yeah. I don't know, man. Like it feels like Trump is going to attract the polar opposite, which would be Bernie, right?
Yeah, that's
in some ways.
True.
I mean, they're both like 70-something-year-old white men, but I think Bernie's got he's got the lead right now.
He's got the feeling for
But I don't know. I'm not good at predicting this stuff.
Yeah,
I never would have predicted Trump.
Yeah, nobody would. All right, finally, the last question, a little bit easier to go in on. Who is your favorite Stranger Things character? We mentioned the Stranger Things trailer for season 3 coming out here soon.
That's right.
Do you have a favorite?
I do.
The Gorgon or
no? I do not favor the Demogorgon.
The Demogorgon.
Yeah.
That's right. I went full Gorgon rather than Demigorgon.
I don't. Maybe the Gorgon is the big thing.
I don't know. I just do it from memory.
So I love 11. When she's on, it's exciting. But I would actually say that my favorite character is Steve.
The older guy?
Yeah, I love Steve. What a great arc he's had from being the guy who's really the most like hateable guy,
right?
To being the guy who's, I don't know. He just comes around so well, even to the point where the trailer for season 3,
he's working at an ice cream shop.
Yeah, and the girls making fun of him. How many kids are you friends with?
That's right. I think he wielded a baseball bat pretty.
That's right.
Pretty
yeah,
mean in,
I'm a fan of Steve.
All right.
I got a friend who, if he answered this question, his answer would be Barb.
Barb.
Do you remember Barb?
That went into the upside down.
Yeah,
she's still there, isn't she?
Yes, he's convinced she's going to come back in season 3.
Hey, Barb, come back from the upside.
She's
down.
not coming back.
She's not. She's dead, isn't she?
She's dead.
Demigorgon took her out. That was kind of the first appearance
of
the underground of the upside down there in the Stranger.
She was sitting on that pool, on the edge of the pool.
Friends were hooking up, doing bad things, and she's sucked
good
into the underground.
But now she's dead, and she's not coming back.
Right.
Sorry,
she's not. All right. Well, it's good to have a favorite girl character today in light of our main topic, because we are here to talk about girls. Well, not in the Stranger Things way, but in a cultural, gender, borderlands between church and culture way. Our topic today is called Wrestle Like a Girl. Now, in our title, Jesse, I'm not referring to the excellent WrestleLikeAGirl.org, which is a nonprofit organization promoting women's amateur wrestling. Here are their goals. We believe girls can do anything, especially wrestle. Founded by Sally Roberts in 2016, our mission is to empower girls and women through the sport of wrestling to become leaders in life. WrestleLikeAGirl.org. Please support them. They're doing good work throughout the world to support women's wrestling. Do you realize women's wrestling, like serious, competitive, not the WWE, SmackDown, Raw, women's wrestling, or men's wrestling, women's amateur wrestling is growing like a weed in America. Did you realize this?
I had no idea.
804 high school girls wrestled in 1994, 16,562 in 2018. In fact, 48 colleges now offer a varsity wrestling program, and it's an Olympic sport. In fact, Japan and America are the two best. Japan probably a little bit better than us, but America's very good. More women are participating in college wrestling than crew, fencing, skiing, and rifle. Even NCAA sports that are emerging like rugby, sand volleyball, and equestrian. So the women are out there getting it done. National Wrestling Coaches Association is supporting it. I support it. Jesse asked me earlier if my girls wanted to wrestle. Quite honestly, they didn't. They had no desire to. They are footballers. But I do find all of my family is very interested in amateur wrestling. And one of the best wrestlers, I was telling my son to watch the technique of Olympic champion Helen Maroulis. Fantastic young wrestler and world champion multiple times. So we're not talking about that, but we're talking about gender controversies, right? In our culture, that arise from athletic competition. Obviously, here on the Underground, we've talked about track and field championships being won by biological males against females, which we consider an injustice. Certainly, there's a lot of talk about gender issues in our culture. Our family, Jesse, we've been talking about the court case recently that women may, in the future, it's not done yet, have to register for the Selective Services Draft. Like, hey, Kayla, you're about to be 18. You got to sign up for the draft, which none of my girls or my wife or me are actually for. But certainly it's a topic of conversation if you're going to have full participation at every level. And I think we have since, 2013 women in our military and combat units and et cetera. If you're going to have that, then, everyone has to sign up for the draft. Maybe that is going to be. Certainly there's been controversy about transgender humans in the military. Controversy about that. President Trump opposing it. Others saying that it should be the case. Whether it's not, people weighing in on that. And certainly sports, right? There was a recent controversy just this past month in Colorado with the state high school wrestling championship where a young lady, actually two young ladies, placed in the 106-pound weight class for the first time ever, placed in the men's or boys wrestling state tournament. Jesse, tell us a little bit about what happened out there in Colorado Springs.
Yeah, that's good. So you got me outside of my comfort zone here with wrestling. Yeah. I don't actually know all that much about it, but I did read an article in the Mercury News, which is based out of Colorado, about Brendan Johnston. Brendan Johnston, in 43 matchups during his senior year, only lost 6 times, but 5 of them were forfeits. And what happened, actually, where it came to a head, or really what they're writing about, is in the state tournament when he forfeited twice, both when he was matched up against girls. The last one against Angel Rios, and so when he found out he was matched up against her, he voluntarily forfeited and said this: I'm not really comfortable with a couple things with wrestling a girl. The physical contact, there's a lot of it in wrestling, and I guess the physical aggression too. I don't want to treat a young lady like that on the mat or off the mat, and not to disrespect the heart or effort that she's put in. That's not what I want to do either. And so there was this really divisive thing that this article talks about, where some people celebrate him as sticking to his convictions, and
he's like, hey, he's being an honorable.
He's rather than
young man, he doesn't want to beat up a girl or something.
And rather than getting litigious and trying to kind of fight the state,
right.
He just willingly forfeited and said it's not worth it.
And 5 of those losses were the similar.
Yeah, I think
forfeits.
four out of the 5 maybe was
were
forfeits, and
so a very good wrestler, high win percentage. Some were saying even had a chance at the state title,
at least a podium.
Yep, and chose to kind of bow out.
That's right, and then which of course was polarizing as far as how people felt about it.
When with the kid trying not to make a big stink out of it, of course everyone made something out of it. In fact,
it's probably also worth mentioning. The article does mention this, that his opponent Rios has aspirations, Olympic aspirations. This wasn't a forfeiture against a significantly lesser opponent. It seems that this is someone who he might lose to anyway.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened there.
Yeah.
Stuck to his convictions and forfeited his chance at a state title or podium.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing that happened after this is that some people were saying he was a virtuous young man. Others were saying, maybe he's kind of a jerk, or some say he looked down on women or anything like
chauvinist
that. And so interesting enough, I was on a trip and I got a text from a strange number on iMessage that said, hey, is this still Reed? I was like, yeah, wait, this is still Reed. And I didn't know what the country code or whatever. Well, it was my friend who's in East Asia. He's a pastor there of kind of an English-speaking congregation, and was also a wrestler in college. And he was all fired up because everyone kind of in the Christian world was making this guy out to be a hero. And my friend didn't quite see it that way because he didn't feel like it was necessary to forfeit to this young lady. Now, his reasoning is close physical contact because, look, I coached youth wrestling, and I tell you what, a 9-year-old boy and a 9-year-old girl ain't a whole lot. It's just there's still the kind of, you lost to a girl thing that guys can do, silly stuff with that. But the physical changes that happen, both in terms of the development post-puberty, as well as hormones, muscle density, things like that, are why it becomes more of a thing with kids that are older, right? And that's why I think it's great that all these high school state conventions, I think there's 8 or 9 now around the country. New Jersey just added this year women's high school wrestling, where females wrestling females, and then men wrestling the males wrestling the males. But my friend was frustrated that people were making this guy out to be a hero, because he felt like there's no reason, and this guy's a Christian minister, that a guy couldn't wrestle a girl in high school. And so I'm just reading a little bit of his thoughts. So he said this: I keep seeing an article about a kid who forfeited multiple times in state wrestling tournaments so he didn't have to wrestle the girl. Most of the comments are high-fiving him for his maturity and respect for women. People are saying he was, quote, raised right, etc. So, well, I want to weigh in on this. And he was asking me to give feedback on his thoughts. Though I share the young man's views towards respect for women, I'm married and have 4 wonderful daughters. Man, he's got a lot of females in his life. I wouldn't have made that decision. I wrestled for 15 years and wrestled a girl on 3 occasions in those 15 years, and each time was business as usual. Did I think it was strange a little bit to be wrestling a girl? Yes, but my goal was to go out there, win the match while having the same level of respect and sportsmanship that I would have against any opponent. It seems that for this kid, there were 2 considerations, what I've seen in the articles. A reluctance, like you mentioned, Jesse, to have close physical contact that wrestling necessitates, and a reluctance not to show kind of physical aggression. This is what my wife actually didn't like. She goes, a guy shouldn't be beating up on girls. On the first score on physical contact, the physicality of sport has never been of a sexual nature for me. Me neither, by the way, Jesse. I wrestled my whole life, coached, never once. My goal for my kids, biological or kids that I coach, whether they're competing against the same sex or opposite sex, is to enjoy the sport and play to win the game. If I had a son, I'd want him to know that proximity to a woman, whether on the field or in a dorm or in an adjacent cubicle at work, need not come with sexual overtones. Very well done, Pastor. On the second score, physical aggression, I like to say that wrestling can be very aggressive. There are elements of finesse, strategy, technique, leverage, angles, and so on. There's a beautiful artfulness to wrestling. It's not just 2 roided up meatheads slamming each other on the mat. That is WWE. I added that. That's not my friend. A boy can wrestle a girl without slamming her, shamming her, embarrassing her, dominating her, or abusing her. He might also lose, by the way, which can also be a reason some guys don't want to wrestle girls. I've certainly seen that in coaching youth. There's this fear, right, of peers are going to make fun of them and stuff. My goal in wrestling, male or female, was never to injure or hurt the other person. It was to score more points. Sure, admittedly, I'd ramp up my aggression and try to embarrass and dominate someone on occasion, but that was only if they were a cocky punk. Granted, we're all different, so if my son couldn't wrestle a girl without disrespecting her, then that might be a different story. If my son couldn't wrestle a girl without being overcome with lust, that would be a different story as well. Anyway, I don't want to disparage this kid. He can make the decision he wants, and good on him for sticking to his convictions. I just think we should curb the narrative that if boys are, quote, raised right, or if they have respect for women, then they'll refuse to engage against them in a sport. This simply isn't true. So my friend's argument is not necessarily a virtue, what this guy did, but is it wicked what he did? Well, in comes an opinion piece that I read in The Guardian out of the UK that had a different view, and this author simply said this: the reaction to Johnston's decision to forego the final match of his high school career has varied. Some praised him for politely articulated expression of respect for Rios, but others, myself included, believe he disrespected Rios by not giving her the chance to compete, leaving her with a hollow victory that cheapened her many hours of sacrifice. And the point of that article, which was entitled, "Girls Should Not Pay the Price When Boys Are Too Uncomfortable to Play," was that this guy actually did something wrong by forfeiting. And I kind of tend to disagree with that as well. Is this a virtue, Jesse, what he did? Is this a wrong thing he did? What do we make of this?
That's tough. I want to say a couple things about your buddy's post that I think are really helpful. Is when I first read the article, it didn't even cross the sexual nature of it didn't cross my mind. I'm probably more where Casey is, as far as thinking about the aversion I would have would just be simply, wait, is it okay for me to
Yeah, like
physical aggression against a girl. I don't want to beat a girl up.
Yeah, Casey even pressed back on me and said, would you support mixed martial arts between a man fighting a woman?
Good.
And I said,
gracious, no.
Lord, no.
Right.
I would not be for that. She goes, well, you're for wrestling. That's a different sport.
Right, it is different, right?
Punching him in the face,
Yeah.
It's a lot different in terms of the actual... Still rules. I think MMA is a sport, but I would never support that kind of aggression. Yeah.
When I was in college, I played a lot of basketball. Probably too much basketball. I skipped way too many classes. Don't do that.
Yeah.
And I was part of a group of guys who got asked to come and scrimmage with a university girls team.
With the college team.
Yeah. And not once ever was there anything sexual on the court. You know, like.
You're not thinking I want to guard this point guard because she's hot,
and I want to like touch her.
Yeah,
like that's just weird.
Exactly.
They brought us on because we were like good enough to like have some physicality and play, but they could still beat us.
Right. So their high positivity about the next competition would be,
hey, you guys beat the guys, and we were like, we'll get them next time. But in basketball it's physical, but you're not pinning someone or so I find that to be an interesting aspect. I guess the only thing that I would say is virtuous would be what your friend pointed out at the end, which is if you do have a conviction and then you stick to it in the face of what is surely a lot of pushback.
That's right.
That's forming something, in his character as far as being able to stand on convictions, and so there may be some virtue there in the following through on his convictions.
Right. And
but I don't think it's virtuous to
just to
not wrestle a girl necessarily.
Yeah. And I think too, knowing the kind of societal implications, and he tries to, in the interview, to navigate that pretty maturely. Like, hey, look, I'm not trying to make a point. I'm not trying to disrespect her training and effort. This is just where I'm at.
Yeah.
And at the same time, do you think he's like disrespecting her or treating her like terribly?
I can understand. I read that article as well. I can understand the point in the sense that there's a cheapening of the girl's victory.
Yeah, she advances in the bracket. Yep. She didn't win the actual match, but she won the match. Yeah, that's the hard thing about that for her. And for those who are saying, well, he took the easy way out, he actually sacrificed something his senior in high school that I know as a wrestler
is a big deal.
Yeah, I got second in the state my junior year. I broke my hand in January of my senior year, like a month or 6 weeks maybe before our district tournament. And if you don't wrestle in the district, you can't go to region, can't go to state. And I remember, man, it was the most important thing in my 18-year-old life at the time. And so he actually sacrificed something significant as well, mainly his goals and dreams as an athlete for his convictions, which I think that is commendable as well.
And I think if you read the article, which will be in the show notes, you'll see the way that both he and his mom. The article actually starts with the interesting story that his mom and his opponent's mom were
in
seated,
the hallway together.
No, I think they were seated next to each other in this huge arena at the time where the opponent's mom found out that he
the forfeit. Yeah.
And they had an interaction, and it shows civility and
went
respect
fairly well between them.
Yep.
Yeah,
and so I think that there was actually respect in it.
Yeah. And I think the solution that was offered in the Guardian thing is that we just need to have equality in sports, or just have offerings. Like, the solution is to have high school wrestling for girls and boys who want to do it in every state in America, and give that opportunity to all. And then just the things that can happen when you're 16, 17, 18 years old in terms of physicality and, testosterone differences and bone density, all that. The solution is, right, what we have, or what we had, males versus males, females versus females, which I've been around a ton of female athletes, high level, like some of the highest level female athletes at UNC.
You're married to one.
Yeah, I'm married to one. I went to college with Marion Jones, Mia Hamm. I mean, these are like some of the most famous U.S. female athletes that you can think of, probably. And none of them, like the people that would love to say about soccer, for instance, UNC soccer team, women's at the time, I think we had won 15 national championships in a row and would just kill everybody, winning 5-0, 6-0 soccer. And our men's team was an average ACC team at the time. And it was popular on campus, sometimes in a campus newspaper, to say, our girls soccer team would destroy the men's soccer team. And the biggest objectors to that narrative were people like the women's varsity
girls'
soccer team.
right,
Yes,
right.
yes. Because they respected what they did, but they also respected the differences. And you're talking to, guys that are running a 4.4 40-yard
really
dash.
fast and
a 4.9 or 5.0 is really fast in women's soccer. It's just a different thing. And so the solution to this is equality and opportunities, and some of the good things we've seen through female athletics in America. And I hope we continue. But it's interesting in this particular case of the wrestler is that we don't seem to want to allow these to be issues of conscience or just issues of wisdom. Like for him, he didn't want to. Why can't we just be cool with that without making him, he didn't run into a burning building to save everyone's grandmas and kitty cats doing supererogatory acts. But at the same time, he's not like the little devil out there seeking to oppress and be a misogynist and hate all women wrestlers. Far from it. I think we have to let people make these decisions, and then those who are in their support system support them, and then be civil as we move forward. And hey, congratulations to those two young ladies who at 106 pounds, that's an accomplishment at that age in high school wrestling to place and be on the podium in the Colorado State Championships. Well, it brings up a lot what we've talked about here, Jesse, about, used to be male against male, female. We got males winning against females. In track and field in Connecticut, we've talked about that. It seems like as a society, these discussions of gender, right, they're not going away. And you have these poles, right, between traditionalists and kind of maybe more feminist, progressive, whatever you want to call it, viewpoints of gender. And there's three parts to this that we're not going to solve this issue in the next 5-10 minutes, obviously. But there's three parts of this that keep coming up over and over in my own experience of these things, both locally with people as well as in some of these news type articles. And the three things we want to leave you with today is that we can never get away from these three things: biology, sociology, and theology. So biology, for example, is just our biological makeup, our DNA, our hormonal makeup, our musculature, the idea that there is a male and female. That's why doctors need to know when they treat males and females differently in terms of chronic disease studies, or even like, Jesse and I were talking about the different brain studies that have been going on, the brain wars between male and female brains. Are they really different? It seems like there's conclusive, strong evidence that from the womb, right, male and female brains are different. So you got biology at work here when we talk about gender, sexuality, sex, male, female issues. This came up for me, in a recent discussion at the middle school at the PTO meeting that I was at, where we were discussing dress code. And people were shocked. They were just shocked that the way, pubescent males and females dress should even be an issue. Well, we should be able to wear or not wear whatever we want. And I was just like, well, guys, don't you know biologically that these children are getting to the age of, if you're just strictly speaking biological science, the age where they can mate and procreate, and their bodies are coming alive. And there's the conversation was like, guys, you cannot deny that if half-naked people are in front of half-naked people of this age, 8th grade and up, there are biological issues involved. Even now, whether you're coming from a secular perspective, some sort of spirituality, some sort of religious reality, this is just a fact of biology. That it seems to me like some of the ladies in there, they didn't want to acknowledge at all. Well, the boys shouldn't want to look at a girl. I'm like, what on earth are you talking about? Right? They just shouldn't. Man. Just tell them not to. Or say that they should, the women should not be subject. And I get that, man. They shouldn't be subject to the lusts of these young men. But I'm telling my daughters about the way pubescent and teenage boys work to not do that, I think, is a denial of some basic facts of biology.
That seems, I remember those conversations in high school about dress codes, but there has to be some sort of base level, right? I mean, even when we think about biology and then working for a good society,
that's right.
What you're getting at is you can't just you can't just let them do whatever they want. whether you believe in it, whether you're theistic or not.
Because at the same time, we're having a huge problem in our society with the objectification of females and sexual harassment, and young people and old people just kind of taking liberties with their eyes and their comments and their actions. And it's a bizarre time to say, hey, this stuff doesn't matter. At the same time, we know that it matters, and to care deeply about it. And
sometimes it seems like saying this stuff doesn't matter is like in that case of the PTO, it's an avoidance of the complexities of having to figure out something that's hard to figure out.
That's right.
Well, how high can the skirt be? Well, that's complex, and it's
right
because then you're. Yeah, so it's a difficult thing to do.
And you're dealing in a public school setting when you have different families, different value systems, different goals and objectives. I was just trying to bring all this up just to make it
stir the pot a little bit,
just make it interesting, because I was like, is our goals morality here? Is it modesty? Is it to avoid sexual provocation? What is our goal here? And nobody knew what our goal was, because we didn't have a common goal. And that's where at home, right, you got to care about those things together, and assume that people are going to interpret differently and try to work through these common. In philosophy, there's this thing called the fallacy of a beard, and it's kind of funny because like you have like a 4 or 5 days growth going on, but do you have a beard? Well, the fallacy of the beard saying that we can never know there's a beard because it's always kind of in progress. There's always a spectrum, and just because something is complex and difficult doesn't mean you can't say that it is.
I saw a guy today with a magnificent big rich beard,
and you knew he had a beard.
I knew he had a beard, but compared to him, I didn't have a beard.
And right now I don't have a beard. But to compare to my son, who's 12, who's got a little brown peach fuzz on the side of his lips,
you've got a beard.
I've got a beard. So biology, we don't want to deny biology. Biology, when we talk about male-female issues, it certainly matters. My friend, who's a physician, has told me recently how the complexity of trying to navigate how there's 50 genders on Facebook that people can pick, right? Whether you're non-binary, non-conforming, genderqueer, whatever it is. And he's like, they need to know on intake forms and as they treat people what someone is biologically, because certain diseases affect men and women differently, and their biological and metabolic pathways are different. And so they're trying to think through how do they do that. And usually some question, instead of, what is your gender, male, female, it's more like sex at your birth or something, so that you can deal with biology. We also know, and this is where I don't want to get too involved today, is that sociology is at work. That people have opinions about what men and women are, what they should and should not do, and these opinions are different from those who, like Linda Hirschman, who wrote a book, Get to Work, a Manifesto, which basically said women who choose to stay at home and say choice to be a mom are doing something evil. To the point where others would say, well, women should just have equal rights to vote and things like that. There are different political ideologies. There are different sociological views of these things. And when we talk about gender, we know that we are dealing with ideology and agendas at times. And sometimes it's just good to listen and see where people are coming from on these things, which brings up the third thing that we're dealing with is theology. The world and all that there is has been created by God, right? This is a conviction, right, that we hold. And so when we have a view that is in the Hebrew Bible, the Christian Old Testament, even in great world religions like Islam, that male and female were created by God, that these are designed unique soul and body combinations, psychosomatic unities, females and males are different by design, unique complementary callings and designs. And that goes down into the relationship between how men and women relate in a family unit, right? Those questions are answered different. And those are theological issues. Even if someone says, I subscribe to atheology or atheism, or I don't believe in God, you are still mapping that theology on one another as we talk about these things. So as you interact about gender, male, female issues, make sure you keep these three things in view. You want to say, hey, look, there's a biological issue that we cannot run from, and all of us share that in common. There are ideologies at play, and to listen well, to hear where people are coming from is very valuable before you just rush in and start saying things with one another. And certainly the unique design aspect that comes from a theological worldview matters immensely, because there's a unity between biology and soul level design of God, even in men and women and callings together to be complementary in the home, in the church, in the family.
Can I mention I want to mention a warning with the theology.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we can debate if we need to, but I doubt we will. I had a conversation with a very well-known, very well-published, and really quite brilliant scholar who writes a lot in these issues from a conservative side of things. And I've recommended his book before in other areas, even on this podcast. But I found that...
Is this he who shall not be named?
I'm not going to name him because it was a private conversation. But I found some things wanting in the theology of complementary, this
complementarity.
This idea that so we were talking in particular about whether or not a woman can open up the Bible and teach men, like say in a seminary setting or something like that. And the answer was no. And at the core, the reason was because we all know it. When we sit under a woman teaching the scriptures, we feel it. It cuts against the grain of God's design, and we sense it inside. And so this was kind of the...
That's a crazy way to argue something.
Yeah. So, and this was packing this onto scripture of she will not teach or have authority over man.
First Timothy chapter 2, 15-ish.
Yep. So when we were talking about what exactly does this mean, especially in context with elders and deacons and so on,
right.
It really kind of, the more we kind of pushed, it got to this, and I find that to be really not where we want to ground our theology.
That's right.
Especially because what I sense, as far as when that's so subjective, it really is so postmodern in a sense of I decide based on how I feel whether or not this is biblical.
That's not that. You mean we could have a robust discussion. Maybe we'll do a whole episode on that, Jesse. But the terms of theology, my point today is within the Christian world there are differences in opinion on male-female roles and responsibilities, right? There's probably some real internecine fighting in certain camps, and I get that. Islam has a different theology. Judaism in its multiple flavors throughout history have different views. Hinduism, Taoism. When you're dealing with philosophical, spiritual, religious worldviews, I find that they talk about men and women quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so people are bringing that, and again, a theology as well. If they're claim to have no theology, you're saying that man and women are the definition of all things, and you're just going to define it as you go. And hence the Choose Your Own Adventure book we have related to male and female without any definitions in the world we've created and are trying to live in, which is a little bit like insanity at times.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the way of arguing about what your friend was saying, I just find, we're going to go to
bananas.
You're going to get a little bit different than that. And I think there is a spectrum, certainly within Christians, who would identify as complementarians, right?
Yes.
Where men and women have different roles and responses and responsibilities to complement one another in the mission of God. They're co-heirs and co-partners in the gracious gift of life, but they're not the same. I think all Christians would oppose sameness, that men and women are the same or designed to be the same. Obviously, there are beautiful things that men and women do that the others don't do. And certainly, now again, in our world today, I had a friend who was on the track and field team in college at UNC who was a Christian, who was in taking some feminism studies classes, and she said, look, my professor says there will never be equality between men and women until we have artificial wombs and we remove from females the responsibility of bearing the next
children.
Yes, motherhood. And to me, so you're saying one of the unique gifts of God, from my perspective and hers, to be a mom, it needs to be eradicated so that there can be this sameness. I think those kinds of moves are disastrous, and of course, that's coming from theology and biology, as well as a sociological agenda that's in play.
I like where you're rooting this in design and biology, and seeing that this is there are some things that are just verifiably different, and unique, and they reflect something. They can reflect something really beautiful and the designedness that we have.
That's right, and I think for cross-religious or cross-ideological discussions, biology is a nice place to meet.
Yeah,
because we all kind of live in the same kind of world, and we're looking at these things. But I think the theological vision of what a male is, or a female, or a woman is a unique combination of design and purpose in our biology and at the soul level, right?
Yeah.
And then that should express in our sociology or our social structures that we live in. And so, but certainly this is not going away. This is going to be a robust, difficult discussion for a long time. There will be persecution related to this if people are not on the right ideological trains. There will be people that are, looked at as being bad if you say, hey, it's okay to be a mom, right? As, for instance, Get to Work, a manifesto for women in the world. Linda Hirschman says you're evil if you choose to be a mom and stay, work at home with your children.
Unless you, I think I saw this, unless you add money-making vocational work
if you do it from
home. Yeah.
I read a thing on Twitter today from NBC News that was looking at someone, a family that made $500,000 a year with 40% tax rate, or how they could feel average. I was like, they ain't feeling average. But one of the things in the line item of this budget was a $42,000 of child care for their 2 children. And I was thinking, $42,000, that's a job. And basically, when you say someone's evil, a woman is evil for making the choice to do that job, right?
Yeah.
Instead of doing something else and then paying someone to do the child rearing job for you, I think there's a little bit of madness.
Yeah.
A little bit of madness in that. Now, Jesse, I'm part of Acts 29 Network. Our church is as well, and we certainly have a complementary view of male and female. And I was involved in rewriting this clause when it first was kind of envisioned to state our theology, because I felt like it would be misunderstood in our society. And so our view is that men and women have unique and equal value in the eyes of God. We share the image of God together in the complexity of who we are, what we're made to be, what we're made to do, in ruling and reigning on the earth and representing the King together as men and women. Can't do that alone in relationship with God and with relationship with one another. But we have unique responsibilities in the home and the church. And we call men to be responsible servant leaders, right, in their homes and in their churches. And as long as I've been around women, I haven't found one that says, I just wish men were more or were irresponsible and they wouldn't serve and they wouldn't show up to lead anything. I just don't see that as being something undesirable. And I've told this to single women over and over and over, because the old passage in weddings out of Ephesians 5, wives submit to your husbands. People, what does that mean? I was like, look, if you find males in this world that you have no desire to be on their team, to submit to them, don't sign up for that brother, because he is not worthy of that partnership of the gracious gift of life with you in the way that God calls husbands and wife. In the same way I tell young men, hey, if you're not willing to sacrificially serve your wife and family and lay your life down for her,
Amen.
You are not signed up for man business here and being a husband in your home. So responsible servant leaders, that's theology. How does that work out in the community? Well, you form families that go to PTO meetings, and you try to figure out dress codes together. Well, we've done a little reviewish already, a little movies, a little Shazam. Jesse's pro on Shazam. I'm a skeptical of Shazam man. Shazam man. But I wanted to share a couple things as we close, and maybe if you had something on your mind too, you could share as well, Jesse, on Reviewish. The first is a book. I just finished a book called The Club by Joshua Robinson and Jonathan Clegg. It's about the history of the English Premier League in soccer, which was formed in 1992. And so one of the endorsers of this book said it was part kind of Wall Street, the movie Wall Street, and part Game of Thrones, kind of these power struggles. But it was a fascinating read, because the English soccer in America has grown worldwide. Actually, it's one of the most popular sports brands in the world, and they've looked at how people in England looked at things like the NFL and how they went about sports business to recreate and refashion this brand, the English Premier League, the EPL, and then the TV rights skyrocketing throughout the world to create this gazillion-dollar empire. Fascinating read. You like sports, you like business, you'd like the book The Club by Joshua Robinson and Jonathan Clegg. Anything you want to reviewish for us today?
I got nothing. You sprang this on me.
Sprang it on you last
You know
minute.
what I could review are the I got those AirPods.
Yeah.
And I loved them.
You bought the
first generation?
The first generation 3 days before.
Yeah, so I loved them. And
you gonna send them back to get second generation?
I was afraid they were going to fall out of my ears because the regular ear pods with the corded ones fall out of my ears. The AirPods don't fall out of my ears.
You know why, don't you?
Yeah, the weight of the cord.
Yeah, there's a tension on those that are.
They feel wonderful, and I can make calls. But I returned them.
You did, so you're gonna get the second generation.
I'm getting second gen, man.
Yeah,
I got those things, and like 3 days later, they came out with
same
second
price,
generation.
second generation too.
Same
man.
price, better microphone, and quicker connections. I just figured, why not?
You can say, hey, that.
You can talk to Siri now.
I didn't want to say it in front of my iPad.
Oh.
But good call.
I can be walking
AirPods.
around with those AirPods and say, "Hey Siri, open up the Gospel Underground."
That's right.
Boom.
And if you get into Siri shortcuts on iOS, this is Jedi Knight level.
Yeah, you've got to teach me.
Yeah, if you use for instance, the podcasting application Overcast, which I think we both use. We recommend that, by the way. It's way better than Apple Podcasts. I don't know anybody's into podcasts who uses the Apple one still. If that's you, get on Overcast. But Overcast supports Siri shortcuts, so you can say things like, "Hey Siri, Overcast the Gospel Underground." Boom, that'll fire up on your devices.
Nice.
It would do it on the HomePod. It will do it through your AirPods.
Is it going to do that?
No, I don't think I have it programmed to play our own podcast. But if I were to say, "Hey Siri, Overcast Men in Blazers," it might start a podcast of some sort of soccer deal. So, our last reviewish. This just came out this week, and I was excited about it. It seems really nerdy, so I apologize in advance. Siri's talking to us now, trying to reach Overcast. Well, Apple had kind of an announcement of streaming services, of various things, of television, of video games. I don't care about any of that. But they're coming out with a credit card, Jesse, called the Apple Card. Now, I already use Apple Pay on my phone, my watch, everywhere I can. Just tap it, go. Well, they're coming out with a credit card that's going to run on the MasterCard Global Network, run by Goldman Sachs, the first consumer credit card Goldman Sachs has ever done. They're going to give you a metal titanium card with
I'm going to buy it.
With no,
I'm going to get it.
It has no number on it. And look,
I'm looking at it right now.
It doesn't cost you anything. So here's the deal: you get 3% cash back anytime you use this card to buy anything Apple, which is huge. 3% is a lot. So
you buy a lot of Apple stuff too.
Yeah, you buy some Apple stuff. You got to get it. And then 2% anytime you use Apple Pay anywhere. So anytime a terminal supports tap payments, and almost everywhere now does, or on the web if you use Apple Pay, 2%, which is really good as well. And then if you have to swipe a card, you can pull out your card that's titanium that has no numbers on it, by the way. And you do have virtual numbers you can use on online websites. You get 1% back for that. And so the security level on this thing is off the charts. If you use a lot of Apple stuff, it's off the charts, and it's cool. It's on your phone. It's in Apple Wallet. Apple credit card. I'm getting it, man. I'm getting it.
Oh, you got me. I'm convinced.
If they will,
it doesn't take much to convince me to buy an Apple product.
Yeah, we're
I'm part of the,
and you don't have to buy. You're not buying anything.
Yeah.
You're just
you're right.
And the cash back happens every single day. So you're just rolling cash back to you every day, and you can transfer it to the bank. You can keep it on your Apple Wallet, so you can text people money if you want to, kind of like Venmo kind of competitors. And this happens to us all the time because we use one credit card. We pay no interest. We pay it off every month.
Yeah, we do too.
The mobile application on this thing looks fantastic because this happens to all of us, right? You're like, what the heck is this charge for Bozo's Pizza for $14? I have no idea what this is and who did this, right?
Yep.
Well, this thing will show you a map of where that was spent and what vendor it was spent with, so you never have to ask again. You can know that your husband spent too much money
at Bozo's Pizza.
At Bozo's Pizza, which usually it's something that I spent on food out with the kids or something. My wife wants to ask credit card questions about. So Apple Card, check it out. If you're an Android person, do your thing. There'll be some Android, Google,
Samsung card
that will have no privacy and will stalk you around the world and know everything you did and report back to Google. But if you want privacy, you want no credit card numbers, you want nobody tracking you, Apple Card on the Apple houses. Well, thanks for joining us today. The Gospel Underground is a joint production of Power of Change and the Bonhoeffer House. Please review us on iTunes. We're getting a lot of 5-star reviews, Jesse. No 1 stars, no 2, no 3. Only 5 stars are accepted. Send your comments, feedback, and questions that you might want us to take up here on the Underground to info at gospelunderground.org. We are a dialogue taking place in the borderlands between the church and culture. with Green Lantern Man and Shazam Man, and males and females made in the image of God.
I'm going to do a reviewish on Shazam Man.
We'll look forward to it, Jesse. Peace.